is that time again. Welcome to Studio 5. We're exploring the issues of race through the eyes of the entertainment world today. So let's fire up the countdown and begin our look at the best in uplifting entertainment.
At number 5.
The Avengers assemble, maybe for the last time.
Just a few snapshots from Monday night's world premiere of Avengers Endgame in downtown Los Angeles.
The star-studded event included everyone who ended up alive and dead at the end of the last movie last year.
This is gonna work, Steve.
I know it is. Because I don't know what I'm gonna do if it doesn't.
Excitement for Endgame is through the roof, and we may see the biggest opening weekend of all time when it hits the box office. Screenings officially start Thursday night.
At number 4.
Sunday is best. Is it true that it's really coming back in June, or is that just a rumor, big brother?
It's coming back.
Come on, come on.
The inspirational singing competition that produced gospel musics Leandria Johnson, Tasha Page Lockhart, Joshua Rogers, and more makes a return after a 4-year hiatus.
So excited. They asked me to be a judge. It was a quick yes. It was a very easy yes for me.
Was it a certain city that had the most talent, or was it online that you were seeing a lot of talent from?
Ooh, it's something about Atlanta and DC. It's something about those two areas.
Mary Mary's Erica Campbell will serve as a judge alongside newcomers Jonathan McReynolds and R&B star Kelly Price.
There's so many people that really need an opportunity, just need a break.
And Kirk Franklin is back as host when season 9 begins in June.
Show some love for the season 3 winner of Sunday Best, Grammy Award winner, Miss Leandria Johnson.
We fired up the countdown, so now let's begin our look at race in The Hate U Give. The best-selling novel is now a film, and it traces the story of a 16-year-old who's trying to balance essentially 2 different lives, one in her largely poor black neighborhood, the other in her mostly white and wealthier school. Here's your Studio 5 first look.
And action!
Mark. Be Mark.
The Hate U Give is about a girl named Star Carter. She goes to this white private school filled with very privileged kids who don't spend a lot of time around people of color, but she's grown up in the hood with her black family. And so she's constantly navigating, having to almost split herself into 2 parts in order to fit into both worlds.
My name is Star. 2 R's. Daddy named me that. Garden Heights. Mama and Daddy says our life is here because our people are here. We got Mr. Rubin's barbecue, Mr. Lewis's barbershop, and Daddy's store. The high school is where you go to get jumped, high, or pregnant. We don't go there.
It's about a young black woman kind of finding her voice.
It's about speaking up, being heard.
It's really about family and community.
Star! What's up?
Star lives in different worlds, her lower income black community and her white private school.
Garden Heights is one world, Williamson is another. So when I'm here, I'm Star version 2.
She's constantly having to split herself into 2 parts in order to fit into both worlds.
I have to hide who I am. When I'm at home, I can't be too Williamson. When I'm here, I can't act too Garden Heights.
This is about her awakening. This is about her journey and really realizing I'm gonna be who I want to be.
That's all challenged when this really tragic event happens.
Go back where he told you. Khalil, I'm not playing, go back. What did you do?
She's the one and only witness.
Today, Garden Heights is reeling after the shooting of a 17-year-old black teenager by a white police officer.
And now she is faced with the dilemma of, does she speak out?
So when you're ready to talk, you talk.
It's really challenging for Star to think about the level of responsibility that she'll take on in being public.
Violence, brutality. It's the same story, just a different name.
I need to speak for him. It's about black people, poor people, everybody at the bottom.
No matter who you are, find your purpose. Whatever you're here for, speak up and be heard.
You too can get out here and be about change.
Don't ever let nobody make you be quiet.
Everybody who experiences struggle can take that struggle and turn it into something golden.
We live in a complicated world.
No, it doesn't seem that complicated to me.
As a generation, it's time that we stand up and start taking responsibilities for our communities and take them back.
The movie gives a message that's, very real, but also very, very hopeful.
I love being a part of a film that I think is really culturally, politically critical.
And the best-selling book is also available wherever you purchase your books.
And still to come, our look at race continues.
And if we would get past the us versus them mentality.
With the author of The Third Option, Miles McPherson, joining the conversation.
CBN presents The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
We're going to talk about some of the incredible promises God has made to His children.
In Pat Robertson's newest teaching, you'll discover the I wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation, and see amazing stories of God's promises in action.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Break free from stress and despair.
The Lord doesn't want you to live in fear, but to know the rewards given to those who love God.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit cbn.com. The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
And welcome back to Studio 5. Our countdown of the best headlines in uplifting entertainment continues now.
At number 3.
Russell Wilson has signed a contract with the Seattle Seahawks. He is now officially the highest paid NFL player.
Russell Wilson extends his run as quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. And the league's now highest paid player gives all the glory to God for his $140 million 4-year extension with the team.
Hey, Seattle, we got a deal.
Posting this video on Instagram, Wilson also tweeted, "My hallelujah belongs to you, and all for your glory." At number 2.
Elder Monson, we believe the Lord sent us here for a reason. He will see us through.
Welcome back, Kulipoki.
It's been a long time.
A first look at The Other Side of Heaven 2, Fire of Faith, a sequel that comes nearly 2 decades after Anne Hathaway starred in the story of an American couple who ventured to Tonga to work as Mormon missionaries.
That is my island. Give them all my love.
Thank you for sending us there.
You should never ask a Tongan mother to choose between her husband and her son.
There will be challenges, but the Lord will take care of you. I want to be baptized now.
You stole my son. He is dead to me.
It's set to be released in June.
With that, we've only got one more headline left to go. We're continuing our look right now at race here in Studio 5 and picking up the conversation with Miles McPherson. The NFL player turned pastor has penned an eye-opening new book titled The Third Option, Hope for a Racially Divided Nation.
We were all made in the image of God.
Before taking the pulpit as pastor of the Rock Church in San Diego, Miles McPherson played professional football in the city with the Chargers. And at one point off the field, he battled a cocaine addiction and broke free.
Humans are genetically 99.5% genetically identical, no matter what that person looks like.
He's now looking to set people free from racism, opening eyes and hearts with his latest book, The Third Option: Hope for a Racially Divided Nation.
This is a different take on the whole racial divide in this country. What inspired you to do this?
I did not know 80% of what's in that book when I started it. I learned it because as I was writing it and I started to do research, I wanted to give people tools. You know, in every race conversation, it's about us versus them. You have to pick a side. But the third option is that we would honor what we have in common. So I said, I know I could figure out how to communicate this to everybody. As mad as people are and as angry and hurt and as divided as we are, I know I can figure out how to empower everyone to come together, first looking at themselves and then understanding each other, other people, and giving people a better understanding of what others go through. So that was my goal, because I didn't want to just write a book because I'm a pastor and, you know, say some things. And, you know, because people are going to call you out, right? And so this topic was so divisive that I had to write something that everybody can apply to themselves.
One of the chapters, you talk about blind spots. I believe there's 9 of them.
I wrote 9.
that I mentioned here. The one that hit me the most is interpreting or internalizing what the others think of you, and then reading that I realized, oh my Lord, I have entered so many rooms where I was the only, and I began to think of myself as smaller because of what I've heard. And
there's 3 kinds of racism: institutional, systems that hold people down, divide people; personally mediated, where I just don't like you because you're different. But then there's internalized racism, where you begin to believe and adopt the criticisms of your critics. And so you're told you're less than, you're told you're not smart, you're told what you won't do, and you begin to believe it. Once that happens, then you don't need a racist in your life. You're your worst racist. And that is something that people have to really think about. You know, have I internalized what I've been told, and not even said to your face? It's just the message of culture that, you know, you're brown, you stay down, right? And so that's a very important thing for people, whether black or whatever you are, in whatever neighborhood you live in. Every color, white being a color as well, by the way, every color has its own burden. To really identify what's my burden, and have I internalized that where I am now my own worst enemy.
The conversation about race, or at least the race issue, seems to have percolated even more so in the last couple of years. Am I wrong in my assessment there, or do you feel it as a pastor?
I do feel it. I think people are more, I have good news and bad news. The bad news is I definitely feel it. I think people are more vocal. However, I'm encouraged because I think people are tired of it. People who didn't talk about it before, churches who would never say anything before, are saying something now, and vice versa. I mean, blacks, you know, the internalized racism thing, or being patient and being graceful to people who are making mistakes, saying stuff that they don't know what they're saying. That's why we have blind spots, right? And so I'm excited because I see people, even though our country is more divided, I see people standing up saying enough is enough. After the Charlottesville incident, a lot of people said, I'm not doing this. We have to celebrate everybody, no matter what they look like.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure
talking to you.
Thank you.
Miles McPherson's book, The Third Option, is available wherever books are sold. Still ahead.
Perhaps the white man doesn't understand what the black man is going through, but we won't understand unless we have the conversation.
The conversation continues with a message in music from Major.
We can move mountains if we do it together, y'all.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time: keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, you know, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, activities and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man coming.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Discover the I wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit cbn.com. The I wills of God, the latest teaching from Pat Robertson.
CBN News, no filter, 24/7 news. Through the lens of faith, from natural disasters to breaking news in the Holy Land. We have access to stars in entertainment and to top newsmakers. We are fighting for your freedoms. CBN News, because truth matters. Become a CBN News member today.
And welcome back to Studio 5. We have made it to the final headline in this week's countdown of uplifting entertainment news.
At number 1.
Hi, I'm Patricia Heaton here in Rwanda with World Vision, and you are watching Studio 5.
A shout out from one of America's favorite TV moms. We caught up with the Middle and Everybody Loves Raymond star here at work in Rwanda.
How many World Vision trips would you say you've taken?
Rwanda is my 4th. I've been in Zambia, Jordan, and Uganda.
Patricia Heaton makes this visit as Rwanda marks 25 years since liberation from genocide.
What keeps you coming back?
Every time I come back, I see more and more people lifted out of poverty, women getting educated. There's just all kinds of work that goes on, and every time I come back, I see the progress. And it's just such an encouragement and a privilege to be able to come here and see where all those dollars are going and see what an impact and a sustainable impact it's having.
And that wraps our countdown. For this week, it's been a show where we've been looking at the complicated issues of race through the lens of entertainment. Music is no exception. Take a listen at why this tune from the artist Major is what's playing in my ear.
We can break down and rewrite the law if we do it together, y'all. We can build bridges race to race if we do it together, y'all. Giving the world a change of pace, we can do it together, y'all. Everybody say, something's gotta change, something's gotta change right now. Right now, yeah. Right now, yeah.
And that tune brings to mind a powerful film we shared in Studio 5. It's an American biographical legal drama about the first African-American Supreme Court justice and one of the first cases of his career. Race is at the heart of the story. In case you missed it, it is still worth taking a look at Marshall.
Nothing from the piece are true. Nothing. You've presented a defense that is based completely on lies and deceptions.
Sterling K. Brown's performance as Christopher Darden in The People vs. O.J. earned him an Emmy in 2016.
They just sent over Deja's file.
And?
Her mom's in big trouble.
He adds another trophy to the shelf in 2017 for his performance in the NBC hit series, This Is Us.
People vs. O.J., This Is Us. You seem to be riding a beautiful wave right now.
I am indeed.
Where does this film for you fit in that wonderful wave you're riding?
So I need to know this. Look at me now. Did you do what they said you did?
I never touched that woman.
Okay, Joseph. You got lawyers now.
This is the first film that I've done since OJ and This Is Us. So it's sort of a new foray for me from the small screen to the big screen. And it's exciting. You know, like it's one thing to come into people's homes on a weekly basis, but it's another thing when people, you know, get a babysitter and go out for an evening and hopefully come enjoy a film in the cinema. Yeah.
Were you familiar with this Thurgood Marshall story before coming to this role?
Not at all. It was one that was completely foreign to me, and so I got a chance to get educated in just the research of this particular story and inspired by the example of this young, just how young he was. I think he was 31, something at the time. But he had the chutzpah to go across this country fighting racism with his incredible legal mind. Like, I'm 41 now. I'm like, Brown, you're slipping on your pimping, baby. It's time to get it together, you know?
I tell you.
Yeah.
Some have compared this, even I think the screenwriter compared this to the O.J. Simpson case.
Oh, really?
I'm curious if you see any similarity. You are, of course, the person being defended in this story.
Right.
And you, coming from the People versus O.J., do you see any similarities to the case?
That's interesting. Not so much. I think O.J. Simpson was a very particular defendant in that he had celebrity on his side. He was also 2 years after the Rodney King beatings, and so he was dealing with a jury of his peers that were all too ready to see police misconduct as the status quo, right? Whereas in the situation with Joseph Spell, he doesn't have any fame. Nobody knows who he is. He doesn't have any education or access to the greatest legal minds, but he was fortunate enough to have Thurgood Marshall come to his defense. You know, O.J. Simpson had sort of a glowing image of like the epitome of the realization of the American dream.
Yeah.
Joseph Spell looked guilty, not only because of the color of his skin, but because he had gone through a dishonorable discharge and had a wife and children that he had abandoned, had another lover that he also, and now he had entered into this relationship committing adultery with this woman. So he's not a perfect defendant by any stretch of the imagination. But what was appealing for me was that his imperfections do not equate to his guilt. And too often in this country, we can see someone and think that we know who they are and throw, you know, cast them aside as if like, I don't want to bother, but everybody's life matters. Like Joseph Spell's life matters. And you can't just throw this brother away because you don't like the way he looks.
And you don't have to wait to see Marshall. It's available right now on DVD and digital platforms.
Still ahead, following his role on ABC's hit Scandal.
You've gotten yourself into a bit of trouble, Olivia, and I'm here to fix it.
Papa Pope Joe Morton is in Studio 5 with a fixing word for you.
As the world watches from the outside,
it's a big diplomatic tug-of-war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline, Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way.
I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
Welcome back to Studio 5. We are almost out of time for this episode, so here's a look at what we're working to bring you next week.
There's a child for every doll, and a doll for every child.
That's the voice of a busy Kelly Clarkson in her new animated film, Ugly Dolls.
I had enough experience that he had me mentor his team on the second season.
She's also a judge on this season of NBC's The Voice.
Seth Meyers.
Yes.
Who is your worst guest so I don't ever invite them?
And gearing up for her own daytime project.
You have a talk show coming, and
I
I read
do.
that you were terrified.
Well, I was terrified before he shot the pilot.
Okay.
I just really felt like a lot of people had an immense amount of faith in me, and I was very nervous about that.
And certainly hope you'll join us for that and so much more next week. As for the final word for this show, actor Joe Morton may be best known for his days in the role of Papa Pope on the hit series Scandal. He's one of many black actors who've paved the way for today's generation.
You have to be what?
Twice.
What?
Twice as good.
Twice as good as them to get half of what they have.
I lost my father when I was 10 years old, under some very suspicious circumstances. I don't know that I blamed anyone at that time other than myself. My mother had a very sort of traumatic response to his death, so there was a lot going on, which made me sort of do a lot of writing, and the writing ended up being about why can't my life just be normal? And I think the one time I felt like things came together was once I decided to become an actor. We all experience it. There's a moment where something clicks inside of us, and we decide to do something about it or not, and that's what it felt like. I went to Hofstra University. I entered school as a psychology major. It was the first day of orientation. They took us around the campus. They took us into the theater, and they showed us a skit. And when the skit was over, I literally could not get up out of my seat. And I thought, I'd been playing guitar and writing music. I really love that. Maybe I could be an actor. Finally got up out of my seat, walked to the registrar's office, and changed all my majors from psychology to drama.
Joe Morton is so wise. That's a great final word for this edition of Studio 5. And that wraps this week's special look at uplifting entertainment. Until next time, make time to uplift someone else. Bye-bye, everybody.